Okay, so we've got the once again the FT767GX, and I've been having trouble with the ATU getting stuck. Well, I've now cured that, rolled it, put it back together and realigned it, and I've put it back in. However, as we've said before, and I'm sure others have noticed, it's very difficult to get this set apart. The instructions are to take the back cover off, amongst other things, and then the inner that this cover is screwed to also has to come out. Makes the whole thing very vulnerable, in my opinion, that is. The wires are very tightly squeezed in the side. I'll show you in particular, we've said about these before, these wires go into the ATU, very fine wires, and they're squashed up against the, as you can see, that plate there where the additional units plug in, and against this hinge type bracket there is an insulation on there, but originally, because it was probably quite flat, but as time goes on, if it's been taken apart a few times, you'll find that it goes quite rounded like that. I don't know if you can see that. So anyway, I've modified it. One thing I've done, this tab here, there was another one of these just there, and you can see the screw hole in the aluminium casing. That also was what that was screwed to. So I've actually cut it off altogether. Oh, I know, it's very naughty. I've cut it off. Couldn't be doing with it anymore. So now that it's not pressing up with the edge of this, I mean, this was, you can imagine that was wires pressing up against a sharp surface like that with really no protection at all. So I've taken it off. It really, you know, okay, so we've got another 3 screws holding that in, and it just makes it easier for getting out and making adjustments and everything. The other thing is, on the other side, the PSU unit, the cables come out there. Okay, now you can see it's quite tight. I mean, actually that's not too bad, because I've propped it up, it's fine. But once again, it was insulated, and I re-insulated it. These wires are actually draped over, when you open it up, they're actually draped over with quite a sharp edge on the side of the casing. So I don't know whether you can see what I've done there, but I've actually cut down about 5mm either side of the slot, and then bent the resulting piece of metal tab back into the PSU. So now we've got a rounded, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's rounded. So I've folded it inwards, and so now the cables will sit over the top of it. When the thing's together, that's not a problem, but when you come to undo it, you do need to have some protection on there. And also it enables you, you know, obviously I've taken this apart a couple of times before and had to take off the back bracket, which I was mentioning, the back support which this screws to. But doing that enables you not to have to take that off at all. You can just leave it on there, about half the number of screws, and less danger in damaging the rest of the set, as far as I can see. So anyway, that's what I've done, but it does mean to say you can open it up just the same. As you can see, I've opened it up and leaned it up against the wall, because I was working on the power supply, the power unit, and the ATU, which is here. Power supply units in here. This all comes off, and there's my modified fan, computer fan in there, all nicely running. Well, that, by the way, is taking the place of the switch, which of course is on the front panel. If you want to run it with this up, you have to plug, you can't plug that in. You're either going to extend that, or you've got to put a little whoops, now it's not a very good connection, is it? There we are, it's running again. But carefully do that, it should be alright. Now, the other thing I had was the lamps for the meter. Now I'll just show you. These are the lamps, okay, the original lamps. Okay, I'll cut them off, 2 blue wires. And then incandescent lamps. I didn't have any, so I thought I'll use some SMD LED lights in there, and I've wired them in, and you can see what we've done. We've got 13.5 volts there, I believe. I don't know whether you can see that, but you can see they're well lit light now, no doubt. Oh, can you see that? Anyway, they are a light. I've put the 13.5 volts. I put a 50 ohm resistor in line with it. Altered the wiring. Obviously you've got to get it around the right way for those. With the diodes. Get it around the wrong way, it won't work. So there are the 2 connections there. You can see that or not. They're in there. So that's lit up quite nicely. The only downside, of course, is there's a very good dimmer on here, which is off at the moment. If I turn the dimmer on, you'll see the frequency go dim, hopefully. Will that show up on the camera? Yes. Yeah, there we are. But because the LEDs the SMD doesn't actually use very much current, I don't think it makes much difference to the brightness of it. So there we are. I can't dim that so well. But the upside, of course, is I should never have to go in there again to replace them. But there we go. I'm sure something could be done to make that better, but that's good enough. That's good enough. Right, now, something to remember when you're tuning this up. The instructions sound quite frightening. They suggest that one should, I'll turn this around the other way. They suggest that one should connect a 16 ohm load to the output and turn on the power full blast. And if you're anybody that's ever used valve transceivers, you think, what? Well, it's perfectly safe, because what happens is the transmitter obviously shuts down. It's got protective circuits in it. As long as they're working, of course, it should be fine. And also the instructions are for this set for tuning using the ATU. The instructions are to turn up the drive to maximum and then press or start the tuner, either automatically, it will start automatically, or you can press the start button. There we are. And then that tunes it. Now, unless you do turn up the drive to, as they say, the maximum, you are likely not to get a good adjustment on the ATU. So for those who've perhaps used to valve sets, you've got to get over that, I'm afraid, because that's the way it works, and it doesn't do any harm. And in fact, it's the only way the ATU will work. If you don't want to do that, you'd have to turn the ATU off and use a manual one. So there we are. Hope that should make sense. And it's all back together again, and I have tested it, and now I'm going to screw it back together and put it on air. Thanks for watching.